Cecilia Lemming, and I'm going to be summarizing Chapter 5, titled On Becoming a Jock, from the book Coercion and its Fallout by Murray Sidman. So in his introduction, Murray Sidman talks about the history of using punishment, and he says that we use punishment as a way to limit behaviors that are either dangerous or unacceptable by our society or by our community. And he says with children, we often say that we're using punishment in order to teach good behavior. He said in academia, we use the threat of failure, an F on a paper or in a course, to motivate the student. The first section is titled Punishment Has Side Effects. And Murray Sidman talks about alternatives to punishment, and he says that they are available, but he does discuss the fact that maybe these alternatives to punishment are not widely known, or perhaps they are not as fast-acting as popular punishment. Sidman then goes on to talk about the Code of Hammurabi, in which doctors were told to share the fate of their patients. So if the patient lost an arm or their eyes, then the doctor would also lose his or her arm or eyes, of course, at him at that point. And this was a punishment that had side effects. Doctors would not take on patients who were risky, and also many people with promising physician staff would not become physicians because they did not want to risk the punishment. He goes on to talk about pharmaceutical side effects and how we really look at and compare those side effects to their benefits. And he said, punishment has side effects too, that we haven't really been able to study until recently using behavior analysis. Now the science of behavior analysis is able to study the effects of punishment. And we need to be able to, and it has studied those effects, and we need to go back and look at those effects in a similar way to how we look at pharmaceutical side effects. The next chapter, or next section of this chapter, is From Bad to Worse. So from bad to worse, Murray Sidman talks about natural punishers, saying these would be like life-threatening events, pain, extreme temperatures, extreme cold or heat, extreme noises, especially loud shrill noises, and extreme lighting, flashing lights, extreme lights. And he says that these are natural punishers, and most people in most circumstances will be able to learn quickly from these types of punishers not to do that type of activity. He then goes on to talk about conditioned punishers, things like the word no, or an F on an assignment or in a course. And he says that these are learned punishers that can be as powerful as natural punishers. Murray Sidman then goes on to talk about this famous quote saying, when the cat's away, the mouse will play. And that means that in environments where we can get away with misbehavior, we will misbehave. He goes on to talk about the fact that humans and even rats are able to really detect these environments in which those consequences are not in place. And when that happens, we're very quick to go back to the misbehavior. So punishments are not really long-lasting. The presence or absence of some feature of the environment tells us whether a particular consequence is likely if we act in a certain way. And that's a direct quote from the book Coercion and its Fallout by Murray Sidman. It's from page 83. And it is one of the main points from this section of the chapter. It tells us that environment helps to control our behavior. In experiments that were done, rats were very quick to learn whether to work or not to work based on environmental conditions such as light. In a contingency where when the light was off, food was not available, rats were very quick to learn that, and they wouldn't work when the food wasn't available, when the light was off. And then they reversed it, and similar conditions were seen as well. Now, this idea of the environment controlling our behavior is true when positive reinforcers are in place, as well as when negative reinforcers are in place. Then Murray Sigmund goes on to discuss the fact that in our society and in the world, we have replaced many severe punishments with taking away positive reinforcement. And he goes on to look at how that affects people as well. So in our society, we don't often flog anybody anymore. Instead, we take away positive reinforcers, such as money. We give them fines. We don't give corporal punishment to students anymore. We give expulsion. We take them out of a socially reinforcing environment. Rather than putting somebody to the hangman's noose, we instead put them in prison, which takes away those positive reinforcers. It takes away a free environment. It takes away a socially reinforcing environment. And so he's saying that these things as well are seen as punishment. The next section is the significance of conditioned punishment. So Murray Sigmund talks about experiments with rats, which show us that the signals for punishment in turn become a punishment, kind of related to that taking away of positive reinforcers. The signals for punishment become a punishment. When a reinforcer is signaled, then a new reinforcer is created. When a punisher is signaled, a new punisher is created. So he's looking back at these experiments. He's saying, this is why. We see this with rats, we see this in humans as well. So he's saying, in addition to that, when punishment is something that humans experience often, and it could be humans, it could be other organisms as well, such as rats in these experiments, when punishment is experienced often, the environment becomes punishment. Whatever space or place where we are punished, whatever person who is doing the punishing, those spaces, those places, those people actually are what become the punisher. And therefore we go back to the title of the chapter, On Becoming a Shock. Because many of these experiments that Murray Sigmund refers back to have to deal with rats, and of course they're being shocked at certain points in the experiment. So he's saying, the shock is the punishment. The shock is the punisher. But the environment that the rat receives the shock in, that environment becomes the punisher. The person who gives the shock, that person becomes the punisher. So here's my second direct quote from Murray Sigmund. He says, people who use punishment become conditioned punishers themselves. And where that relates, where that is so important, what we need to take away is in the school environment. When a child goes to school and they receive punishment after punishment after punishment, the environment becomes the punishment. So the school environment becomes the punishment. The school official, teacher, administrator, what have you, who is delivering the punishment, and it doesn't have to be just the punishment. It could be the removal of positive reinforcers. You have to stand from recess because you didn't do this. You have to not have lunch with the other kids. We're taking you out of this social environment. We're taking you out of this free environment. That makes the whole social environment the punisher. It makes the person delivering that taking away of positive reinforcers or giving that punishment, it makes them the punisher. So I think about all these kids that are in school who are oftentimes in trouble, just continuing to get in trouble. The environment of school is the punishment for them. They go to school and they're being punished because they've had such frequent punishments living out of school. To me, that's my big takeaway. So my question for you to ponder is, can you think back to a time when you, as a person, may have become a punisher for giving out the punishment? Or can you think of a time when you became a reinforcer for someone for giving out positive reinforcement? I know I can, and I'll be sharing that with you. You can see my reference, Goodman, Coercion, and his fallout. And I hope you enjoyed this summary of the chapter. Thanks for listening.